Hello and welcome to Art Time with Flory. I am so excited that you're here joining me for another art class. Now today's art project is called the autumn trees. If at any time you need help and support, go ahead, put pause, and ask a grown-up to come and help you. I'll be here waiting for you. Now, the list of materials will be added in our description box below, along with our links, letting you know where you can find your materials. All right, kids, let's go over the list of materials. All right, kids, let's go over the list of materials in order to complete and get started on our fall art project. You will be needing a paper towel or a towel, a bundle of Q-tips, a square sponge, 3 paint brushes, oval wash brush, the round brush, and the angular, and a paint spatula. You will also be needing a ruler, mixed media art paper, 7x10 or 9x12, a sketch pencil, a cup of water or water bottle, a painter's palette, and the paints that we will be using for our art project today is yellow, red, gray, green, brown, white, and blue and white. All right, kids, let's get started. So you're going to start with a ruler and your sketch pencil. Now, I have a cool ruler that has the list of artists who were part of the Impressionism movement that I got at an art museum, if you're wondering. The other side has numbers. Okay, so what we're going to do is we really want to use our ruler just to create some nice, clear, crisp lines. So I'm going to find my mid-horizon. So it's going to be right about here, but I'm going to push it just a little bit above, right there. Perfect. Now, this is where, oh, whoops, let's straighten that up. Perfect. Now, what I'm going to do is find my midpoint. So I'm going to go ahead and measure. Make sure that my ruler is, so now we have like about 6 inches, right? Just about 6.5. So we're going to find our midpoint, which would be 3.5, right? So 3.5. So that's going to be my midpoint. So what I want to do is I'm going to create kind of like a triangular. There we go. What we want to do is we are sketching, so let me make sure that I'm adding a line because that's where I want it to, where I want my next parallel triangular line to start. So what we want is to create kind of like perspective, like you're going down a road and you could see beyond, you could see ahead. So like there's a small, there's a small point. We kind of want to give that like a view of the road before us and then the grandeur of the mountains and the sky. So this is what we're going to do. And what you can do right here is you can add like the mountain range. So I'm just going to go ahead and create a line and just let it kind of go up, and then we're going to have the sun coming out and some like sunset, and it's going to look great. So once we're done with that, we can put our pencil aside and our ruler aside. We won't be needing that anymore. Perfect. Let's get ready to start painting. All right, so the next thing we're going to be using is our sponge brush, painter's palette, spatula. Sometimes my wires cross. And our painter's palette with our paints. So we are going to start off with the sky. And I'm going to go ahead and start blending in my blue and white because I want a sky blue. I want a pretty nice sky blue. Nice. Look how lovely that color looks. Beautiful. All right, so now I'm going to paint my sky, but I'm not going to paint my entire sky. I'm just kind of going to go right up to here, okay? So I'm going to go ahead, just use one side of it because we're going to be using this sponge often, and I'm going to create my line of where I want it to end. Go ahead. And paint your beautiful sky. And I'm making sure that everything's all nice. Perfect. And now that I have my sky, I'm actually going to go ahead and turn to the other side. And I'm going to grab my gray. And I'm going to go ahead. Whoops. I got my gray, but there's blue coming on, so I'm going to go ahead and switch it to this side. That's okay. And don't worry about that blue. You can layer it with paint. I used another corner of my gray. Just kind of gave it a nice little, you know. Almost got brown there. What was I thinking? And then what you can do is add some texture. And we'll later on go over it with a brush, but right now we'll just add some texture. All right, and once we're done with our gray, we're gonna put it aside and let it dry for just a bit. And we're gonna come back to our green. Actually, we can actually do our green now. So let's go ahead and use the other corner that doesn't have any paint, and let's add our green. Our road before us. So right here we are going to clean our little painter's palette. Spatula. Oh, I don't know why I keep mixing those two up. Okay, so I'm rinsing it off, rubbing it against the glass bottle. I'm gonna have to wipe it off with my little towel that I have here. And we're going to grab some brown and grab some white and blend it. All right, so I'm going to put this aside, kind of wipe it off. I'm going to get as much as I can, and then we're going to rinse. So I'm going to grab my brush. I'm going to go ahead paint. And go ahead, just fill it in. And then later on we'll add different like brown textures along the way. See how I did that? Go ahead and fill it in. And we can use our finer, smaller paintbrushes to add the detail, so don't worry about that just yet. Perfect. I'm liking the color, the way it's looking. I get the rest of it, fill it in. Like I said before, we're going to be adding cool details to it. So I'm going to get a little bit more white, a little brown, mix it up, and this is where I start blending, making the colors just burst. And if you notice, there's little areas that did not get painted, so I'm making sure that I'm dabbing, so you could dab just so the color comes in. And then what you can do now is get your brown, get the rest of the white, add it there. We're gonna do like little streaks, right, just to give our road a nice blending of dirt, right? Just give it different layers. On the outside, we're gonna give it more of a darker tone. And the sun. So I have my beautiful yellow here. Just a peek, and don't worry about the So now I have my sun. What the angular brush does, because it's angular, you're able to curve the roundness of whatever. All right, so I feel like that's perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and rinse it out. Oh. All right, I'm gonna grab my spatula. And so what we're gonna do here now is we're gonna be blending colors, okay? So I have my yellow. I'm gonna grab some red. We're gonna mix that baby. And so, we're gonna grab this beautiful red orange. It has more orange than I'd like. So what I wanna do is grab my little yellow right here. I'm gonna grab some red orange and I'm gonna blend it in a little bit more. And we're sort of gonna see how this blue orange has lightened up a lot more than this red orange. That's kind of what I'm looking for. So we're gonna go ahead and add another little drop and mix this color already, because it already has orange and it's a lot lighter than this orange. And then we have a darker orange. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. So find little spaces in your on your painter's palette, and you're going to create 3 different oranges. Well, actually probably 4, but we're going to start off with this light, beautiful, lovely color, and we're going to add so as you can see, the color changes is very subtle. Very subtle to this yellow, and that's what we want. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab some of our orange. All right, here we go. Beautiful. We're going to paint over the gray, so don't even worry if it overlaps. So once we have our nice, beautiful orange, you see how the subtle colors change? We're going to go ahead and grab some of our red orange already. So the colors just really start changing. Now, we're going to layer it. Alright, so then we're going to add this really beautiful red, like bright red orange, right? There's a lot of red there. So we're going to add just a little bit of yellow on it. It's become a little lighter. And just go ahead and just paint over it. So we have different shades of red and orange, and go ahead and let it overlap. Pull the colors in to the mountains. So it gives you different like shades, right? Beautiful. At the bottom, okay? Add a little more texture. A little too wet, so I gotta dry it up a little bit more. Nicely. Today you are learning to use different forms of painting with different items. You're learning to use a sponge to make a beautiful landscape. You're learning how to blend colors, so you're actually creating primary and tertiary colors. And you're learning how to make different shades of orange. You're learning how to, with the different shades and blending, you're learning to create different medians and different levels and creating a beautiful sunset. Well, I said you were going to add little details. Don't worry about the gray. This is me adding like little mountain details too. So now that we have our brush clean, let's go ahead and start with our trees. We're going to dip our paintbrush into some black paint. So we're going to go ahead and draw an invisible line just to give us an idea of where we're going to start and where it's going to end. So now let's go ahead and actually paint our first tree trunk. I'm going to just make lines, and then I'm going to add branches to my trees just to give me an idea of the space. So go ahead, let's add another tree. Let's go past the sky. And then this one gets a little bit thinner. We added five trees. If you don't want 5 trees, you can. If you want 3 or 2, whatever you want, that's fine. So now I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing to the other side. And start adding branches to our tree trunks. So go ahead and either make your tree trunk a little bit thicker, give it more of a tree trunk look, and add some branches at the top and to the sides. All right. You're going to do the same thing to the other side, adding branches and thickening, adding a little bit more paint, black and brown, to your tree trunks. All right. Go ahead and just keep going. And as you can see, I'm making sure that my trunk, my tree, looks more like a tree. So I'm adding just little details to it. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing to this little guy. And since my brush is getting thick, I'm just going to go ahead and kind of clean it up a bit. And let's just try for the tip. I'll start with my little one too. Because we're going to really, don't get too focused on the branches, because we're going to add some great orange, red, yellow leaves to our trees. So let's go ahead and work on the trees on the other side and making them look more like a tree that's growing out. And do nice little flicks. Really define your tree branches and your trunk. As you can see, I'm making it thicker. Go. Look how nicely it's looking. I want to make sure. And for the last one. Let's make sure we do that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to grab our little Q-tip bundle and our painter spatula because we need to make some orange. So we have some red. We have lots of yellow. So I'm going to go ahead and make some red orange, but also make more yellow. I need more yellow to make more of an orange tint. Okay, my colors are changing. I need more yellow. Since I'm running out of yellow, I'm gonna go ahead, grab a little bit more. And here's where the fun part begins. We're gonna go ahead and start dipping. And I'm going to start adding some foliage. Some yellow. I want to start off with yellow. And then I'm going to start adding my red orange. Just do a little dab. And then you can add some leaves that's fallen onto the road. There's some of your yellow. Get some a little more yellow, dab it there. And voila! Beautiful! You put this aside. Alright kids, now that you've completed your amazing, beautiful art piece, if you learned a thing or two and had loads of fun, go ahead, click below, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Art Time with Flori, to get notifications of our upcoming art tutorials. All right, kids, have a beautiful and happy Thanksgiving.